was the band Kiss, easily one of the most famous bands in the world and definitely one of the most popular bands in America. The classic rock band Kiss started out as a small band in New York called Western Lester, derived and made up of Gene Simmons, one of the original members, and Paul Stanley. They got together with two guys, they started making music, but it really didn't take off at all. They would play little gigs, and the musical creativity, it wasn't there. So they dumped those guys. They put in an ad for a drummer, and they put in an ad for a guitarist. Peter Criss, a veteran drummer he played in two bands before Kiss, answered, and he just wanted to play anything, and he wanted to make it famous. So they picked him up. They picked up Peter Criss. And then Ace Frehley was a struggling guitar player at the time, just working to pay his dues and whatnot, and he joined the band. And this was the first essence of Kiss as the original, legendary band. Not the new group, but the legendary guys. They started out small, cutting their first record, self-titled Kiss, 1973, and the sales were bad. The sales were terrible. They toured. It was bad. People thought they were weird. It was shocking. It was their makeup. And people were shocked. They were scared. They didn't know what they were seeing or what they were listening to. But then they caught a break. They got better. They practiced. They got Doc McGhee as their manager, who was a prominent record label, big head honcho over at Capitol Records, because they were at Epic before they left Epic Records. They went to Capitol Records, and he was now the brains behind the operation, and that's what got them started. Their biggest album of the 70s was Alive, in which they combined the things that made Kiss great, which was their live performance, which people were buzzing about. This is what people were talking about: the explosions, the crowd going crazy, the live. It was something that had never been done before, and it got Kiss their first gold album. This was huge. Kiss was taken over. By 1977, Kiss had become, it was in a poll, the most popular band in America by 1977, after releasing Alive, and then in 1976, Hotter Than Hell. 1978, they released Destroyer, and that was an album that kind of pushed the boundaries of Kiss, which they had disco songs, and their fans were sort of pushed back by it. They didn't know what to think, because before, Kiss was a heavy metal, almost dark grunge kind of band. It was loud, it was intense, the stage show was crazy. Gene Simmons with his tongue, blood coming out of his tongue, it was like that, and then they had gotten softer. By 1981, Peter Criss and Ace Frehley left the band because of all these creative differences, and Paul Stanley and Gene, the original founding members, took control, and by 1982, they took off their makeup. Kiss went on MTV Unplugged, had a press conference, and their makeup was gone, and everyone at this point, they weren't even worried about the disco. They were worried about Kiss looking like them without the makeup. It was something that people weren't used to. They weren't comfortable with, because they were used to seeing these guys dressed up with the black and white makeup and the huge platform boots and the crazy costume designs, and now they were just like regular people. People weren't used to it. And this was shocking to fans. They had a good time period of 6 to 7 years where they toured without the makeup, and they cut a couple albums, but it wasn't nearly as successful as Kiss was with their makeup on. And as silly as it may sound, it's what pushed fans away. They didn't feel like it was Kiss. Their music got softer. They brought in two other guys to fill in for Peter Criss and Ace Frehley, and it just wasn't the same. In 1996, Kiss proposed a reunion tour in which the original members, all the founding members, Ace Frehley, Gene Simmons, Peter Criss, and Paul Stanley would go back on tour, a reunion tour for the fans, something to give back to them, because Kiss is a very generous band. They love their fans, and they love the people that have given them all their superstardom and money and all of that stuff. They're very grateful. So 1996, they went on tour. It was gigantic. It was crazy. It was everything it was hyped up to be. The people loved it. They did it once again also in 2008 for their 35th anniversary tour. And Kiss, they never put out another album, even though they got back with their original band members, but they still toured, which is very respectable, considering the creative differences they had and everything that had gone on in the past. They were still able to put that aside and still give the fans what they want, and that's Kiss. Arguably one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time, and definitely a huge part of American pop culture and what we've seen throughout the years, just explaining, you know, what people go through, and Kiss was always there. Kiss, legendary rock songs that you'll always remember, genre-filling songs, rock and roll all night, party every day. Who doesn't know that? So, that's Kiss.